My name is JackSepticEye.
Top of the morning to you laddies, my name is JackSepticEye. Top of the morning to you laddies, my name is JackSepticEye. I wanted to come on here and talk a bit more about mental health and specifically some of the struggles that I've gone through in my life as a person.
I wanted to react to this video for a while now, and what better time to do that than while I'm eating an Eggo. JackSepticEye. Man, I've been aware and watched a lot of his videos since the PewDiePie days, bro. I remember actually watching that fucking Fridays with PewDiePie when he got shouted out, which I agree is not the reason he's successful. The guy works his ass off. But he made this video called Help with a black thumbnail, and I was actually concerned for a sec. And I have not watched this. I've seen other people talk about it, and I figure, why not? Let's see. Ah, beautiful.
Is it just me, or does it feel like the internet is just getting angrier and angrier all the time?
Smiley face.
I feel like I can't even interact with the internet the way I used to because it just makes me so anxious all the time now. Everywhere I look, everyone's just fighting with each other. Everyone's attacking one another. You go to a
That's me.
TikTok video and people are all like, oh, why'd you do stuff this way? Why did you do it that way? Why are you even filming this? What's going on? Like, it just feels like the fun of everything is kind of going away. And maybe that's just endemic of like the bubbles that I'm in. Maybe it's just endemic of the stuff that gets served to me. But algorithmically driven content just kind of drives everybody to anger all the time.
All right. Our boy Jack, within the first minute of this, has established a lot. He acknowledges that maybe this is just the bubbles that he's in, but he also mentions the algorithm. A big part of this is that the algorithm incentivizes sensationalized slop. Then yeah, I'll probably agree with him. Let's see what he's got to say.
Because it's so much easier to be angry about stuff and hate stuff.
It's not easier. It's so much more dopaminergic. You're more inclined to react and engage and consume things that bother or upset you. That's more so like the platform basically taking advantage of the fact that outrage fucking sells almost as much as sex.
And hate each other than it is to do anything decent anymore. And maybe it's always been like that. But
I like that. The vibes are kind of good. He's a little artsy-fartsy, but there's a smiley face on this tree. And I know it's ironic because I do make fucking negative content or whatever. Like I'm a harsh little fucker sometimes, you know what I mean? But I also try to be self-aware about that, and I do try to, you know, emphasize the fact of like the goal shouldn't be just to tear people fucking down. It shouldn't just be the goal. If you're going to tear someone down, try and have a, you know, somewhat justifiable reason for it. Don't just blindly project your resentment onto people. But be aware when you're acting resentfully, okay? Because a lot of people use like justification as a legitimizer for taking out their anger on others, right? But if you're going to tear someone down, the actual true intention should be to build them up, whether after or during, whatever. But just be careful that you're not just tearing someone down without the intention of helping them out.
But now is just the only time that I've started to see it. And maybe that's just me and my timelines and my algorithms and the things that I see from my perspective, but it just kind of seems like anywhere I turn on the internet now, if I spend any length of time on it, it just all seems so negative. It's just people throwing rocks at each other.
This isn't really new. I don't know if it's a sign of him maturing, you know, because maybe back in the day he just didn't have to pay attention to this shit. He was just more focused on kind of his own little world. Because that was kind of the case for me growing up, you know what I mean? Most kids, I would say, most, not all. Most kids are kind of sectioned off from the most negative parts of the world, you know? The world's certainly not just become complicated or whatever. Thing is, the thing that has changed is how in your face it all is. The fucking rate of passing opinion in front of your eyes is unseen, unfucking seen.
All the time. The internet was supposed to bring people together and do amazing things and connect the world, but all it's done is seem to highlight the problems more.
This is a pessimistic view, but it's coherent.
You would think having so many people from so many diverse different backgrounds and cultures that would be able to all learn from each other, but it seems like people just double down and sit inside their bubbles and throw stones from there. And that's not even
like they're poorly programmed NPCs. Like they have big old bubbles on their head to stay in their little chamber. and they're not able to reach out to others.
Mentioning how much violence and war is
Yeah, no
going on
kidding.
right now.
Holy fuck.
That seems to just entrench people more in their beliefs instead of
He is looking ragged. Holy shit. Papa Jack. Damn. Blood's graying.
reaching out and having a heart and being more open to things. A lot of people have been, and that's great to see, but by and large, these things just keep happening over and over again. And that's not even mentioning like politics making people so angry. And
Okay, when it comes to war, okay, what he's describing with violence, political violence, there is absolutely, sure, yeah, there's a lot of that being highlighted right now, but this is always happening, and it has been happening, and a lot of the political violence that is emerging right now has a fucking long history behind it. And so, in reality, right, it's not that necessarily that there's been this massive surge in political violence just recently. It's that the accessibility and the frequency by which you're confronted with the realities of political violence have been incredibly accelerated. Again, on paper and in reality, in my opinion, that is a good thing, that you are confronted with that real, that it disrupts a lot of fantasy and reminds you that, holy that's happening, but it absolutely is not conducive to the best state of fucking mental health. That's just true. It's a fucked up trade-off. It's like awareness at the expense of comfort, you know what I mean? Awareness at the expense of basically blissful ignorance. Not everyone gets to choose, but some do, right? And I respect people who choose to be aware. I also respect people who would rather just kind of keep their head down.
entrenching them into their own beliefs further as well, and just picking sides and attacking each other all the time. It's really difficult for anybody to go onto the internet these days and just exist without being dragged into something that's going on. And I think the common denominator between all of these is people. And as generic as that sounds, that really is the humanity of it all. The lack of humanity in regards to some of it. And I think the most important thing to a lot of people is...
This is channeling energy from the guy who did Line Goes Up. He's getting a little artsy, dude. I like it.
Especially me, and especially the things that I've heard from my audience over the years, is mental health. And anybody that's watched me for any length of time knows just how important mental health is to me, because I've gone through my own struggles with mental health over the years and still struggle with my mental health all the time. I don't think it's something that you ever figure out and you ever get on top of, but you can definitely...
Please don't say that, Jack. Please. Fuck.
Get better tools, get better help.
This video is sponsored by Gokamerch.com. Go to Gokamerch.com right now and buy yourself a beautiful Hubert NPC. Look how cute these things are. Thank you.
And that's what I've been doing. I've been reaching out and getting help from a therapist for like 2 years now. I'm on medications for depression and anxiety.
That's tough.
To try and deal with my own mental health. So when people say that they're struggling and stuff helps them get through a hard time, I'm there with you. I know exactly what it takes, and I know how strong you need to be able to get over any of those obstacles. And I'm always trying to find ways to help, to progress things, to open up the conversation, to try and add funds to places that can help out, and trying to talk to the community all the time about mental health and making sure that it's not something that kind of falls to the side. And I've done it my entire career, which is why this year for Thankmas, I've decided to partner with Crisis Text Line and Samaritans.
Damn. Interesting. Fucking sponsored by Suicide Hotline, dude. I'm just kidding, that's rude.
In 2023, Samaritans and Crisis Text Line volunteers spent, according to the CDC, suicide was responsible for 1 death every 11 minutes in 2022 in the US. And
that's fucking a lot, dude. That's a lot.
It's not just in America either. Every 90 minutes, someone in the UK or Ireland takes their own life as well. That alone is the biggest killer of young people under 25 and middle-aged men.
Really?
According to the World Health Organization, more than 1 billion people are living with mental health challenges of all varying degrees.
1 billion fucking people? That's more than 1/10.
us. That's like an eighth of the planet. According to the notes that I have here, in 2023, the US Surgeon General declared a national loneliness and social isolation epidemic throughout the country. And that's just in America. I'm sure that
This is a heavy conversation, in a way. Yeah, man, the crisis of fucking loneliness. I guess this is as good a time as any to go into the fucking rant, but, okay, a lot of the times people, and look, I'm not exempt, obviously, from this, but a lot of the times people will most prominently feel loneliness, like a deep emptiness or desire or whatever, in relation to, like, romantic desire, you know what I mean? Like, they want, like, a partner, and this makes a lot of sense in a lot of dimensions. But one that gets extremely fucking overlooked on, I want to say most, but just the vast majority of self-help spaces that I observe is the importance of fucking friends. You need friends in this fucking life, okay? You need people who, despite whatever, ups and downs occur in your relationships, despite whatever might happen to you professionally, people who will be there for you, will not fuck you over in times of crisis, and whom you can trust to be fucking honest about how you are feeling, and who care. This is not easy to acquire, and if you do not have this, you are in a dangerous position, my friend. You need to actively force yourself to meet new people. The good news is, it's gonna suck. It's gonna suck. It always sucks. Initially. It always feels awkward and forced and shittish. The good news is, though, you'll know that you are succeeding at making an actual friend when it stops feeling forced to coordinate and hang out with them. You probably don't need to tell me where or how you need to get your friends or whatever, but it's best to have an in real life friend. And if you really have no means of meeting anyone, you need to take one day at least out of your week to fucking sign up for some interest that you have to hang out in person with people. If you like knitting, go to a knitting club or something on Sunday, dude. I don't know. Church can count. There's many things I can think of, okay? You gotta make the effort. You gotta do it, because trust me, it does not get easier to make friends with age. The good news is you can always make friends, but it'll never be easier than today. Give it a shot.
it's being felt everywhere. About half of US adults are experiencing considerable levels of loneliness. And unfortunately, with that loneliness comes darker thoughts and depression. And being isolated from people is just not healthy for our brains. We're creatures that are designed to go out and interact with other people. And when our only means of doing that sometimes is through the internet, it can be really bad. I've lived quite a huge amount of my career just being online.
Dude, that's what I'm saying, man. All these super fucking successful YouTubers, they are rewarded for being terminally online. The algorithm self-selects just in a natural way for the people who are the most fucking online. And so I respect the self-awareness of Jack to point that out. And it's a common fucking thread, especially among people who are really like having crises online in a public way, acknowledging that they are way too much of their existence, their fucking meaning, every aspect of their life is intertwined with the online space. Acknowledging that is fucking important. But if you're just a viewer, it is a bit different because, you know, it might not be the case that your entire livelihood is wrapped up in like an online persona. LinkedIn, bro, I hate LinkedIn. I don't even want to go on this rant right now because I don't want to dissuade people who need to like have a LinkedIn. I don't want to dissuade you from getting a fucking job, okay? Do what you have to do. But I dislike LinkedIn a lot because it attempts to do what I philosophically fucking hate, which is blend basically like your personal, like who you are with your fucking professional life and just make them one. And I get that there's obviously there's fucking overlap, of course, always, whatever, but some separation, bro. Some separation needs to be fucking present.
And I can tell you that it's made me angrier and sadder and made me feel even more alone than if I were out interacting with people. And that's not always easy, but it's something that I feel like we need to talk about and open up the discussion to and help people who can't help themselves. The point of this video that I'm trying to make is that community is key to all of this. Community and the humanity behind it, because...
Damn, blood. Fucking community pill made its way to JackSepticEye, dude. Holy shit. Let's go. Holy fuck. Bro, what is it with these fucking gamers, man? PewDiePie used to generate a lot of fucking income for charities. JackSepticEye, that's a lot. But he was thinking that.
Together, raising awareness together,
He's sick.
yelling, screaming, being positive and doing something and putting our
Yelling, screaming, and dude, you're not selling it right now.
stamp on that day, I think is activity towards.
Noble endeavors from Mr. JackSepticEye. I feel like I have more or less said my piece. There are negatives. I do want to, like, kind of be honest. There are negatives, of course, to, like, having friends involved in your life or having a community or whatever. There's obviously some cons, I guess you could say. Obviously, like, you know, it can pull time away from your professional life. Some people can definitely perceive that as a negative, obviously, because you need to make money to a certain extent. There's also the fact that there can be like inter-community drama that is just fucking awkward and annoying, and you can feel like you've ruined, you know, like your image within a community. There's all these like weird little politics that can emerge. All of these things, as fucking horrible as I just made them sound, they are nowhere near as bad as just having nobody to fucking hang out with on a bad day, in my opinion. I think that for me, it's like, oh man, I really do resonate with I like sacrificing for other people, if this makes sense. I like the idea of like making a nice meal for other people. This is just true, and it's kind of, you know, you could view this as just like sad or something, but if I were left completely alone 24/7, I would not give a shit really about like what I eat, really. Like, I would be healthy, okay, but I wouldn't try to be extravagant, is what I'm saying. I would not try to, you know, push the boundaries necessarily. I would not explore as much as I do if it wasn't for other people. A lot of learning, curiosity that I have fucking had the privilege of fucking enjoying and endeavoring in this life is due to the encouragement of fucking friends. You know how I went to Hong Kong? That was on the fucking plea of one of my friends, basically. There's a long story behind that, but long story short, would not have happened if it wasn't for one of my friends. The times when I level up the most are usually when I'm doing something for a friend. So like if I want to try a new recipe with like food, I will almost always want to make it for another person, because if I'm making it for another person, I really don't want to fuck it up. So I'm going to try and make sure it goes well. It's like a very good accountability tool in a way. I always think serving others in ways that don't necessarily serve yourself is worthwhile. Not in a fucking like Machiavellian way, although of course you can make an argument for that, but just on a fucking honest to God, Jesus Christ, I'm getting a bit hippy-dippy, but like in a spiritual way, it's just fucking alleviating. For me, I mean, people are obviously different, but for me, it feels good to give without expectation, sincerely. But I guess maybe, I don't know, that's just me. To each his own.